Hopefully. It's Erev Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
and so we have a skeleton crew tonight. But that's it. What can we do? It is what it is. So, we're here. Hillel said, Im ani kan, hakol kan. If I am here, everything is here. And here's Mazel Tov.
Here is Mama. We missed you. Oh, yes. But Robin said, where is Mazal? There's no class without Mazal. Now we have a two Mazal, right? Yes. Who's the other one? Oh, yeah, the young Mazal. Right, yeah. Yes. So you want to call them old Mazal? No.
Wise Mazal. Umnaya Mazal. Experienced, wise. Okay. So speaking about experience, wise, that brings us to time. And we are ready to begin. And okay. Okay, let's get going. Okay. So, welcome to lesson 4. In the previous 3 classes, we talked about meaning and purpose. We talked about first meaning and the idea that through our action, intentional living, setting ourselves up in the right way, we can have a more meaningful life. And then we talked about purpose. And purpose was not only thinking about how it feels, but why it matters. And connecting to the origin of everything and the one who put it all here and fulfilling the intent with which we were placed here. But sometimes life can feel like a hamster wheel. It can feel just, it's purposeful, but it's endless. And it's just on and on and on. More and more and more. Get up, do the right thing, live a purposeful life, go to bed, get up, and it's all over again. And the question that I want to address today is, how do we keep it fresh? How do we stop it from becoming rote? And this brings us to lesson 4. The answer begins with time. And time is, by time, we don't just mean the number on the clock, we mean Jewish time. And by Jewish time, I don't mean coming late. I mean that Judaism asks of us not just to do things, but to do things at certain times. And so Shabbos doesn't come when we're exhausted. It's not a convenient time to rest. It's a specific time with its own rhythm, with its own energy. Rosh Hashanah and Kippur as well. These are not just dates with rituals. They are a different time zone. And so meaningful life in the Jewish sense means living aligned with the time. Recognizing that the meaning of today is not the same meaning as yesterday. So there's a spiritual current, there's a quality to the time, and when we align with it, when we tune into it, it gives our life health, we're properly aligned, but it also gives us a sense of dimension, rhythm, and diversity in our life, texture. So again, Judaism doesn't only teach what to do, it teaches when to do it. And it's not arbitrary, meaning we're not just commemorating the date because that's when something happened, as we'll talk about. So just to tune in and connect with our own experience of this, there are things that we do every day, but they're special because of the day we're doing it, right? You could, sometimes it's because of a personal milestone, right? Right? There's things that we've done over and over again, but then there are certain days when doing that same thing, I eat supper every day, but then having dinner on this day, it somehow feels special. Sometimes we know why, sometimes it just feels different, but we don't quite know why. And so maybe, and I would say for sure, it's not just a vague feeling, it's a reality. It's a spiritual truth. And what Judaism teaches, what the Kabbalah teaches, is that time is a dimension. It is a spiritual force with its own qualities, with its own energies, with its own fabric. And each day, each hour, each moment is a different aspect, a different quality, a different color in that time. So Jewish life has two rhythms. We have the ongoing obligations, the way in which a Jew, the type of person a Jew is meant to be. And these are all the time. And then there are special things. There's obligations that come up that don't apply all the time. Right? So we have, for example, the obligations that come with the certain holidays, that come with certain age milestones, certain times in our life. And so what's remarkable is that it's not that these two things exist separately, that there's who you are on an ongoing basis. A Jew is supposed to, be an ethical person and supposed to, have a certain level of connection with Hashem that's at a baseline, and then there's these special things that pop up. What we also want to point out is that the ordinary things are also colored by the time that we're in right now. So Jewish life is governed by time, and the thing that I'm trying to say right now is that even the ordinary, the consistent aspects of Jewish life are also, even those consistent things, for example, living an ethical life, which has to be consistent, has a different quality to it when it's a different time. Those things themselves have a different quality. So we're going to talk about the layers to the end. So let's talk about special days, and I want to drill into what the meaning of a special day is. But first, an example. If you're walking with a child in Massachusetts and you come across a sign that says Plymouth Rock, the landing place of the pilgrims. Oh, boy bayoim, mamish, boy bayoim, today. The landing place of the pilgrims, 1620. The child turns to you and asks, why did the Mayflower land here of all places? How would you answer? Why here? No, what's the answer?
Jewish?
No. What's the answer? The actual answer. Why here? Why Plymouth Rock? Yeah? First Pilgrims. Yeah. No, why Massachusetts? Why? Jane, you're a teacher, you know this stuff.
I tell you something. I did know why the boat landed there and not in New York Harbor.
Actually,
I knew it at one time, but
the Pilgrims were I'll get to that. Okay, a different example. We'll come back to Plymouth Rock in a moment. Now, imagine you're walking in California, and you come upon a sign that says, "Welcome to the historic Mount Wilson Observatory." This time, the child asks, "Why did they build the observatory here?" So, what's the answer? Why is the observatory here? The observatory. Why is the observatory in this place? Mount Wilson, the best place to have it. So this is the difference between Plymouth Rock and Mount Wilson Observatory. They were not looking for Massachusetts. They were looking for Virginia. They want. Well, they didn't know anything about the place. They knew that this is land. They stumbled on it. Plymouth Rock is not Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock is a rock. It has assigned value. Why is Plymouth Rock special? Because the circumstance that happened there. The Pilgrims didn't choose Plymouth Rock because there's anything special about Plymouth Rock. Masha Ein Kain, Mount Wilson Observatory. Why is the observatory on Mount Wilson? Because you want to have an observatory on the top of a mountain with clear skies. If you build the observatory at the bottom of the mountain, you wouldn't have an observatory. It wouldn't be an observatory. Hastus, this is the difference between assigned value and intrinsic value. Assigned value means, why is this special? Because we called it special. It, per se, is not special. It reminds us of something. Something happened here. But the rock it could have been any other rock. It could have been Virginia and was supposed to be Virginia. However, Mount Wilson, this place is perfectly aligned, is perfectly designed to be an observatory. It has clear skies, a stable atmosphere, and do you know that the Mount Wilson Observatory is where Edward Hubble put the world's largest telescope until 1949? Yeah. But the point is that that's the spot, because the spot is a special kind of spot. And this is what we're talking about. This is why, for example, why wine is made in Napa Valley, why grapes are grown in the Napa Valley and they're not grown in Nebraska. It's not because it's not wine country because they grow wine there. The climate there is suited to growing grapes, and that's why it's wine country. So, whereas if there's a Walgreens on one corner and a CVS on the other corner, is this something unique, special? I mean, maybe there's a lot of older people there that are getting a lot of medications, but why this corner and not that corner? Azoi, something special about that corner, right? It's true that now that Walgreens is there, it's actually a thing, but still, it's an assigned.
Theaters and they put in drugstores.
Exactly, drugstores and movie theaters. So this is the difference between Jewish holidays and secular holidays. A different example. You read in the newspaper that Dr. David Baker has been awarded the Nobel Prize in Chemistry, right? You also read that Ivy, a Washington, D.C. resident, received a free Metro Rail card and a $500 gift card for being the 1 millionth passenger at Dulles Airport. So, why did Dr. Baker get the Nobel Prize? And why did Ivy get the free Metro Rail and the $500 gift card? What's the difference between these two? Which one of them is assigned value and which one of them is intrinsic value? The one who got the Nobel Prize is intrinsic value because he worked hard and he learned and he has a special brain and he has a special accomplishment. Why did Ivy get the Metro Rail card? It could have been any schmo. She's not special. She just happened to be in that place at that time. Right? So that's the difference between intrinsic value and assigned value. And this brings us to time. The Declaration of Independence, July 4th, 1776, right? If it was on July 3rd, which it actually was, but it's another story. If it was July 5th, we would be celebrating Independence Day on July 5th. Christopher Columbus, right? Landed in, where did Christopher Columbus land in 1492? Bahamas. Yeah? So that's why we have Columbus Day, right? What's special about Columbus Day? Gurnished, right? So, it is. Is that as, so heißt es also, is Columbus Day. Oh, tazoi. That's exactly the point. That's the proof in the pudding. The proof is that it's only assigned. The proof that it's only assigned is that you could change it to the Monday and nobody cares. Because the point is that you should have a day to remember this important thing. There's no intrinsic value, but if it was intrinsic, you wouldn't be able to move the day, right? You can't do that with Shabbos. Shabbos is the day that it is, right? This is the difference between a secular holiday, it is what it is, but the Jewish holiday, Rosh Hashanah, you can't do Rosh Hashanah on the nearest Monday to Rosh Hashanah. That doesn't go that way, right? Meaning, but the why, right? The fact that that's the case tells us the way Torah teaches about what time is, the way time works. So, yes, ma'am.
Innate energetic connection in each soul towards Shabbos.
What?
There isn't one for
Exactly. So, so essentially, we got this point, right? The Jewish holidays are like the Mount Wilson, like Kakio Vazavut, Dr. Baker, and Martin Luther King Day, and Columbus Day, and Indigenous Peoples Day is like Ivy, who won the millionth ticket, and like Plymouth Rock. So this brings us to Shabbos. We're familiar with the famous story. If you have the book, text 1, page 103. The Roman emperor, if you want to grab a book, there's one on the table, yeah. The Roman emperor asked Rabbi Shua ben Chananya, why do the dishes of Shabbos produce such an enticing aroma? So he answered, Rabbi Shua ben Chananya answered the Roman emperor, we have a special spice, and it's called Shabbos. We place it in the Shabbos dishes, and it gives off a fragrant aroma. Now, we are all familiar with the special taste of Shabbos food. What this story is telling us is that it isn't just true for us. It's also true for the Roman emperor. The Roman emperor is able to feel it also. Now, the Roman emperor ultimately asks Rabbi Shua ben Chananya, could I have that spice? Could you share some of that with me? And Rabbi Shua ben Chananya says, you can't. I can't share it with you. You don't observe the Shabbos, you can't have it. So the story is telling us a subtle point, which is that we have a special relationship with it, which gives us the ability to handle it some way, to engage with it in a more direct way. But that doesn't mean that it isn't true for the whole world. Even the Gentile knows it's Shabbos and lives in that Shabbos space, lives in that Shabbos energy. But his relationship to it is different than our relationship to it. And that's the idea of the Shabbos spice. There's a similar story. My father loved to tell the story about the Heilige Ruzhiner. Rabbi Yisrael, my father used to tell the story about the Heilige Ruzhiner. His name was Rabbi Yisrael, and he came from a town called Ruzhin, or Radzin. And in which country that's in, I have no idea. Ukraine. Yes, that's also true. And he was a holy Jew, so they call him the Heilige Ruzhiner. Okay, that's what they called him. So the Heilige Ruzhiner was a young boy, and he was learning Mishnah. He was already the Helik Erujiner, but then they called him Yisrael because he was a boy. He was learning Mishnayos. And he was normally a very smart boy, but came to learn this Mishnah he couldn't understand. And as much as the teacher tried to explain it, he couldn't understand. The Mishnah goes like this. What happens if you're lost in the desert or in the wilderness and you don't know what day is Shabbos? You lose track of time, you don't know what day is Shabbos. So what's the halacha? What do you do? So what do? Really, there's two options. The Mishnah doesn't say the two options. The two options are either you observe Shabbos right now, because maybe today is Shabbos, and maybe you should observe every day Shabbos because maybe it's Shabbos. No, the Mishnah says what you should do is you should count 7 days from today, and on the 7th day observe Shabbos. That's what the Mishnah says to do. Yisrael says, I don't understand. Teacher says, what don't you understand? He says, how do you lose track of time? What do you mean? He says, imagine. So the teacher starts to explain. Imagine it's a desert and you didn't see anybody for a long time. Maybe you fell asleep and you don't know if you fell asleep for 2 days or 1 day, and you forgot what day it is. You counted and you thought it was Tuesday, you thought it was Wednesday. He's like, I don't understand. And he's trying to explain this way. Maybe he never saw a desert before. Maybe he lost his calendar. He forgot to mark. This boy doesn't understand. So the Rebbe says, tell me exactly what don't you understand. Explain to me your question. So the Rebbe Yisrael says, I don't understand how you could not know when it's Shabbos. So the Rebbe finally says, how do you know when it's Shabbos? He says, you look in the sky and it's Shabbos. You see it's Shabbos. It's in the sky. And now, we may not be able to see it so clearly like the Helik Eruziner did, but the story is telling us something about the way the world works. And the truth is, my father encouraged me to try to sense how it feels different to be on Shabbos. Maybe you don't see it so clearly with your eyes, but try to feel that Shabbos spice, the Shabbos feeling. Tap it. Notice, do I feel different right now than the way I do on another day? Yeah, Shabbos is different. And the tzaddik, of course, he sees it more clearly, but all of us are in that. And again, we've laid this out in three dimensions, right? There's on the highest extreme, there's the Helik Eruziner who looks at the sky and he can't imagine not knowing it's Shabbos. It's clear in front of his eyes. On the other extreme, you have the Gentile Roman emperor who also feels that it's Shabbos, but can't do anything about it. And in between, we have the rest of us. So these stories are really encouraging us to know that this is not just a theory, this is a reality that we live in. And to put it all into one sentence, Shabbos, the holiness of Shabbos, is not something we create. It's something we enter. We enter into this space, into this time. And yeah.
Integral connection to Shabbos because you were so great, or because the years of training and living in a family where Shabbos was an integral part of priestly life, and so you know that life doesn't stop until there's Shabbos, and every week and every month and every year you have Shabbos. So you condition yourself.
Right. So the question is this conditioning or is this reality? And to be honest with you, I have an anecdote. And the anecdote is in your text 3, page 105. This is a story told by Schwartzy. Schwartzy was a legendary shliach in California, and he tells a story. Olav Shalom, Schwartzy tells a story about a conversation he had with a staff member at UCLA Neuropsychiatric Institute, who had informally tracked a curious pattern over the years. The doctor told me, says Schwartzy, that an average of 5 people per day are brought to NPI, and a few of them are Jewish. But he said, I noticed that every single year around the Jewish holidays, Jewish admittance goes up dramatically. And on one day each year, admittance spikes closer to 20 people, with 15 of them Jewish. Which day is that? Yom Kippur, said the doctor. But here's the punchline, is that each year when the admittance to NPI went up, on Yom Kippur, it was on the Hebrew calendar date. And on the secular date, you can't track it. Right? The regular calendar doesn't pick up on this trend, because every year, it's a different date. But, and the other point is that the Jews who were brought in on Yom Kippur, many of them didn't even know that it was Yom Kippur.
So that would mean that
it's real. It's real. And I'll tell you my own experience. And Chazan Randel first pointed this out to me. And ever since he pointed it out to me, I can't help noticing it. There are more funerals around the High Holy Days and around Pesach. And he understands it, Chazan Randel, that it's because that's the end of the year. Hashem is closing his accounts. Hashem gave them a year, and it's the end of the year. Pesach, Nisan, and Tishrei, the 2 New Years.
So either the very beginning of the year, or
well, it's usually the end of the year around Tishrei time, meaning Elul time, the end of the year, and then also Nisan, around just before Pesach, that time, it's the end of the year. That's how he. So we see these kinds of cycles. Again, this is not formal. There's no formal research on this, but this is our anecdotal experience. So these Yidden aren't thinking about Yom Kippur. They don't have the conditioning, but something in their neshama stirs and something in their heart cracks.
it's a breakdown.
Something. It's you might call it a realignment.
Yeah.
And there's a Bavusta. Have you heard of Yontif Erlich? No? Yontif Erlich. Yontif Erlich was a children's composer. He made Yiddish songs for, storyteller, like Uncle Moshe, like, the Barney, but he was a Jewish one. But he was serious. He was a very talented, made beautiful songs. Many of the songs that he wrote, he put to popular Russian tunes, which to us, they all sound Jewish. But, growing up, we knew, getting from the old country, they said, oh, I know that song. But they never heard Young Zavella, you know what I'm saying? So this song he wrote, maybe you know the tune. Da di da da di da 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 dum, da 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 di da 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 dum, da 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 di da da dum, da 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 di da da dum. Yes, see, you know the song. So he put Yiddish words to this song. And it goes like this. The English, yes, that's the Yom Kippur. I always sing it on Yom Kippur. I always sing it at Ne'ilah. Here, you pass this to the pillow, please. Oh, you have one? Very good. Okay, wonderful. So this is I always sing it because it reminds me of Yontif Erlich's story, the story he tells. The song tells a story of a Jewish captain of a Russian naval ship who is off the port of Odessa. And he feels a pull. Something that he doesn't understand causes him to pull the ship into port, to park, as it were, And the way the story is told in the song, he hears a melody that he can't shake, and he has to follow the sound, and he follows the sound into town, and he gets off the ship, he runs through town, and he rushes through the town like a madman, trying to find this tune, trying to find the source of this tune that calls to something buried deep within him. And page 104, text 2, he weaves through the streets, hot on the trail, the melody stronger and stronger. What is its message? What is its take? His heart can't hold out much longer. He spots a babushka walking along, crossing the street in the middle. Can she decipher this mysterious song? Can she solve this great riddle? Grandma, he says, please listen to me. This song in my ear is quite bruising. The melody is haunting. It won't let me be. I fear that my mind I am losing. Your face tells me, comes the reply, that you are a Jew, my dear skipper. You're churning, you're burning, and I'll tell you why. Tonight is the night of Yom Kippur. And so it's, of course, it's not a true story, but it's a true story. It's a fiction story, but the fiction conveys the message of how Judaism looks at time. That even though you don't know it's Yom Kippur, the moment, the time says something's going on here. There's something moving within us and within the world that calls us to be a certain way. And so, in general, it's important to note these moments. And here, the thing that we're saying here is that Yom Kippur is not a ritual. Shabbos is not a practice. These are realities. Like, why do you put on a coat in the winter? I never forget. We were walking outside. It was a day like today, November. But it was maybe early November, late October. It was so warm outside. It was like high 60s. Crazy. So Mushki and I are going for a walk with little kids. And Yudla was very young then. We had 2 kids in the stroller. And he was there outside. No sweater, no coat. And some babushka stops us in the street and she says, he's not cold? You know the way Russian. I said, I don't know what she's talking about. It's almost 70 degrees outside. It's warm outside. She says, but it is not the season. In November, you have to wear a coat, right? Doesn't matter, but that's not how it works. We don't wear a coat because it's the winter. We wear a coat because it's cold outside. And therefore, we don't fast on Yom Kippur because it's a practice, because it's a ritual. We fast on Yom Kippur because that's what the time calls from us to do. That's the spirit, that's the energy of this moment. And I forgot to take it out before. The Pesach Matzah. We're going to find it quick.
I didn't recognize it. Okay, that's important.
So, when was the first Pesach Seder? Huh? When was the first Passover Seder? Huh? I know, but when? Which year? Huh?
They left 2448.
So you want to say 2448?
They got 2488, so they left 24.
Was it the first year?
Wait.
Huh?
They had a Seder Or they left.
When did the Jews first eat matzah? With the Passover offering. Huh? In the desert. Actually, no. They had matzah before that. In Egypt, they ate matzah. But actually, as Robin points out, they ate matzah. Avraham and Sarah ate matzah. Right? So I want to direct your attention to page 116 in the Machzer. 116. Yes. Yes. In the night of protection. The night of protection refers to the first 2 nights of Pesach. The Almighty, who is splendid in his praises, made a memorial for his wonders in the night of the feast of Pesach. Skip now to the 3rd stanza. The night of protection has been promised from the beginning as a night of preservation for us in the night of the feast of Pesach. Skip to the next one. In the night of protection, you see I'm skipping one. In the night of protection, he created the light of the world. The first of his words caused light to shine forth. Right? So this is telling us that the patriarchs and matriarchs were born on Pesach. The night of protections, he who was favored to serve as a priest, Abel, approached with the firstborn of his sheep and their fat, the night of the feast of Pesach. Cain and Hevel, Cain and Abel, the 2 brothers. Abel brought his sheep as a sacrifice on Erev Pesach, 14th of Pesach, right? Avraham, in the night of protection, the eastern star, Avraham rose, a teacher strong and radiant in the night of the feast of Pesach, right? And we talk about the conquering Egypt. Actually, Avraham pursued kings and their booty. He fought the 4 kings and 5 kings on the night of Pesach. The night of protection was Sarah praised in Paro's palace. Sarah was in Paro's palace on the night of Pesach. In the night of protection was Paro smitten. Now it's back to Egypt, right? And then we skip to Sodom. In the night of protection, the provident one, Rebecca, obtained blessings for her son Jacob in the night of the feast of Pesach.
That was Korban Pesach. That was.
So Yaakov brought goat meat
lamb,
to eat,
right?
goat, yeah. So you could, the Korban Pesach could either be a goat or a lamb, right? So he brought the sacrifice. He sacrificed a goat. That was the Pesach also. And it goes on and on. You could just read this. Look at this whole list of things that are all talking about the night of Pesach. 3 pages of special events which happened on the night of Pesach.
For what they celebrate Pesach, it's like we celebrate usually for the Seder, like we celebrate for different.
Right. So, text 4. So when Avraham Avinu was celebrating, right? So the story we just read in the Torah that Avraham had his circumcision, and he was standing outside, and 3 angels came. And what did he make for them? The Torah says, what did he make for them? He slaughtered calf, and he gave them cheese and milk, and he served them matzahs. He baked matzahs. Torah says explicitly, black and white, he served matzahs. Text 4, Abraham wasn't celebrating an event in the future. He was tapping into a spiritual energy of freedom that was and always is present at that time of year. The energy of liberation is encoded into the composition of the annual cycle. The point to answer your question, Mira, we're not celebrating the exodus from Egypt, which happened on that date. Instead, that date has special power. And that year, it turned out that it showed up as Exodus. Meaning,
How did I know how to tap into that?
because he was like the Heilige Ruzhiner who looked in the sky and saw the truth.
So how can you ask people to tap into the energy of?
We're not being asked to. The Torah tells us what the time is. But what we should realize is that it's real. That it's a reality. We aren't doing a practice, remembering something from another day. We are being aligned with reality. So what's the magic? What's the message of Pesach? The message of Pesach is that God's presence is an overwhelming reality. That Hashem, it's the beginning of spring, so that it shows up in so many different ways. It's the beginning of spring. The earth, the world, is full of fresh energy. Human power is not strong. The life of the world, the life of Hashem's life is strong. That's why we are taken out of Egypt by Hashem. We're saved by Hashem. The energy of Pesach is being within Hashem's life.
Light or life?
Yes.
Light.
Life. Being within the light of Hashem. Allowing the revelation of Hashem's presence to wash over us. Which means that the way in which we receive that is by getting out of the way. By making ourselves as humble as possible. Meaning, the same thing, Exodus. Hashem says, I'm taking you out of Egypt. We go. We don't decide where we're going in that moment. Hashem takes us out of Egypt. If we were, I don't want to get too stuck on this particular one example, but if we're strategizing and we're thinking about what's the safest and what's the most successful plan of action, we would stay in Egypt. Leaving Egypt means that we opened ourselves up to the power of everywhere that's guiding us and leading us. And that's why matzah is the natural expression of that moment. But if you look through all of those moments, they're all about an abundance of divine revelation that protects us, and that's a truth that overwhelms us, and that there's nothing to worry about, and we're saved. Because Hashem is taking care of us. That's the spiritual energy of Pesach. But the point is that it isn't that Exodus happened and therefore the 15th of Nisan becomes holy. The 15th of Nisan is a holy day, and that holiness showed up that year as the revelation from Pesach. The 15th of Nisan has a holiness in it that's inherent. It's the truth of that moment. 14th, 15th.
So Hanukkah is 8 days.
8 days.
Because there's so much energy.
That's the nature. That energy runs on a cycle of 8, not on a cycle of 7. It's a different quality of energy. We're going to get to Hanukkah in a moment. One step ahead of me. She's one step ahead of me. Right?
Mine is just,
It's okay. It's okay. So this is why the Jewish calendar holidays are celebrated on a very fixed time. We cannot standardize our calendar, match it up with a secular calendar, and celebrate Rosh Hashanah on October 1st every year. It doesn't work that way. And we can't move it to the nearest Monday, like some people want to do. And a bar mitzvah can't be moved to your 14th birthday because it's more convenient that way. The day is a real thing.
Yeah, but for the 25th of December and January 1st, that's never moved.
Okay. Listen, the truth is that this is the fact that time is a reality is not something that only Jews have. Reality belongs to everyone. And when we think about, so reality belongs to everyone, and everybody knows this. The question is, are our lives, is our culture aligned with reality or not? And a big Yiddishkeit, Judaism is really about aligning ourselves to reality. That's what Torah is. We say that God looked into the Torah and created the world. And we look into the Torah and learn how to behave. So this is describing something very powerful. That Jewish practice is about aligning ourselves to the blueprint of the world, lining up with reality. So if Hashem tells us to keep Shabbos, that means this is the way in which we will be properly positioned within reality. Observe Pesach on these days, that's the way to properly observe reality. Start acting this way at this age, that's called getting aligned with reality. But again, we don't have a monopoly on reality. We're just blessed to have a teaching that guides us on how to align with reality. But look, and we'll talk about birthdays in a moment, but people celebrate their birthdays, right? The fact that they're celebrating their birthdays means that they understand that time has a reality to it. And to go back to the point about Shabbos, it isn't so. Rabbi Yisrael of Ruzhin was able to see it in the sky. But that doesn't mean that it isn't a reality that we all live in. And look at this text, very powerful, text 5. Even a complete ignoramus or peasant is suffused with the light of holiness on Shabbos and holidays. And a violation of Shabbos blemishes the holiness that suffuses their soul, just as it would the holiness of the soul of a tzaddik. So, for example, when someone says, I'm not religious, I don't observe Shabbos. The rabbi, for him, Shabbos is a big deal. And when he's going to violate Shabbos, it's going to do something to him. Maybe I believe that, maybe I don't. No, that's not what Torah teaches. No. Torah teaches that Shabbos is in everyone's soul. Everyone's neshama is affected by Shabbos. And just like a tzaddik, the most righteous and holy Jew, when they observe Shabbos properly, they're healing their soul. And if they chas v'shalom would transgress Shabbos, it would put a blemish on their soul. Every Jew, it's healing for our soul to be properly aligned, and it hurts our soul when we violate the Shabbos, no matter how religious we are or not. There's no such thing.
If that's the soul, any soul, then why would they violate Shabbos?
They shouldn't. They don't know. They don't know.
They were born like that.
I'm not criticizing them. It's like just because people in the 50s didn't know that smoking was unhealthy didn't mean it wasn't bad for their lungs. I don't blame them. I don't criticize them, but the reality is true. Yeah? Any other questions?
If the mixed marriage,
No.
the mom is not Jewish, the soul or the boy.
Mom is not Jewish, then the child is not Jewish. But that there's a difference. Normally, when a person who's not Jewish wants to come and convert, we tell them no. But if someone's father is Jewish, we try to convince them to convert. Yeah. If the father is Jewish, then we try to convince that child to convert. But they're not able to have the spice of Shabbos until they convert. So, time. There's a Hasidic parable. It goes as follows. Once a king traveled through the desert with his son. So the son got thirsty. The son, S-O-N, his child. His child got thirsty. The son was also there, don't worry. But the child got thirsty. And so instead of giving his child water, the king marked the places where he could dig a well. And he said, now water will be accessible not only for you, but for all the generations to come. And for all of your future journeys. Every time you walk through this desert, you'll always have water here at these places. And so it is with the Jewish people. At key moments throughout our history, God revealed himself to us in unique ways. On Pesach, he redeemed us from Egypt. On Shavuos, he gave us the Torah. On Yom Kippur, he forgave us. On Sukkot, he protected us in the wilderness. Each event was more than a one-time miracle. It was uncovering a spiritual wellspring, opening up a well that would always be there every time we pass through that time. And this, by the way, is important to think about the difference between time in the Jewish conception and in the worldly conception. There are two ways of thinking about time. One way of thinking about time is that one day leads to the next. And so in that sense, time is a line, one day after another. Another way of thinking about time is that it's a cycle. And that time, a week, is a cycle. Each week you come back to the beginning again. And each year you come back to the beginning again. Judaism says time is not a circle or a line, it's a spiral. Each year we come back to the beginning again, but a little different. And so each year we come back to Pesach, to Shavuos, to Sukkot, to Yom Kippur. Each year a little bit different. We experience it differently, but it's the same energy. So the special moments that we're celebrating were not one-time gifts. They were moments that we were able to see the energy of the time. So going back to Rabbi Yisrael of Ruzhin, he looked at the sky and saw that it was Shabbos. But that's what happened on Pesach. When the Jewish people were taken out of Egypt, they were being shown the energy of that time. When the Jewish people won the battle against the Greeks on Hanukkah, they were being shown the energy of that time. And the truth is that specifically in Chabad culture, that process doesn't stop. We just celebrated a Yontif in Chabad. Rosh Chodesh Kislev is a big Yontif in Chabad. And every year we celebrate Rosh Chodesh Kislev. And the truth is, Lahavdil, the Satmar celebrate Chof Aleph Kislev, the 21st of Kislev. Every year they celebrate it. The Rosh Chodesh Kislev was, remember I told you about the time the Rebbe had a heart attack? Remember I told you the story? And on Shabbos I told the story. The Rebbe had a heart attack when? On Simchas Torah, right? Huh? He wouldn't call for help. But they called him, and Dr. Rosner came from Cleveland, right? So the Rebbe was hospitalized in his office from Simchas Torah until Rosh Chodesh Kislev. Rosh Chodesh Kislev, he finally came out of his hospital. He was back in shul for a celebration. So ever since then, Rosh Chodesh Kislev is a Yontif. Yutes Kislev, the day the Alter Rebbe came out of prison. The Alter Rebbe came out of prison, and the Maggid of Mezrich, it was his birthday, and it's the birthday of the yahrzeit of Maharal of Prague. There's energy in this day that we celebrate each year.
And when he came out, he finished writing.
The Tanya was printed on the same day. The Tanya was printed later. It was a different year, same day.
Those 53 brothers.
Yes, it was printed. It was published on the 19th of Kislev, 20th of Kislev, actually. Yeah, this was a day that it has energy, and the Rebbe would speak about it. So let's talk about Hanukkah. You want to talk about Hanukkah? Let's talk about Hanukkah. So when the Jewish people experienced Hanukkah, that was like the sky opening up to the Jewish people and showing them what is the energy. So let's look at our books. And here was some of the energies of Hanukkah, some of the qualities of Hanukkah that are in front of us. Right? So we have page 108. At the Hanukkah story, each night of Hanukkah, we add a new candle, building light and never remaining the same. So this is a quality that we have to embody in ourselves. And we do that. We live with Hanukkah energy always, but also Hanukkah is the time when we reconnect with that energy, not stagnating. growing. It's staying still is not an option for a Jewish soul. That's the message of Hanukkah. Self-sacrifice, right? The Maccabees fighting against all odds to overcome the Syrian Greeks, risking everything for what they believe in. That energy of Mesirat Nefesh, of self-sacrifice, is in the air on Hanukkah, and that's the well. So meaning it's not only in the air on Hanukkah, it's also the water which we drink on Hanukkah, which feeds us with the power of self-sacrifice for the whole year. Similarly, striving for excellence. The Maccabees could have said, "It's good enough. We'll make how do they say? If you can't find any pure oil, that means there's no impure oil available. You can use non-pure oil. It's kosher. It's allowed. If everyone is impure and there's no pure oil available, you light with impure oil. That's what you're supposed to do." But the Maccabees said, "No, we're not giving up. We're going to keep looking." And they found the one jug of pure oil, right? This energy is something that belongs to us all year. But the time when we recharge that, the well that's available for us to recharge that energy, is on Hanukkah. To not say good enough and to look for best.
So that one bottle, that one little jug of oil burnt until they came back with pure oil.
Yes, but the point that I'm saying is that this quality of not settling for good enough is something that should be coloring our Jewish life all year. When do we get that boost? When do we recharge that quality? It's Hanukkah that recharges that quality. To remind us to focus on that, it builds up that skill and that strength in us so that we can use that attitude all year round.
So that's why we add one candle each day.
Same thing, right. But the point is, what we're doing, the practice of Hanukkah is taking that energy. It's kind of like, when the Teslas have charging stations, so that you plug in and then you could drive for another 500 miles, right? That's what Hanukkah is. Each Jewish holiday is a different kind of charging station. You plug into that energy, charge yourself up, and it gives you the strength to go all year round with that same energy.
But it's different energy.
Each time is a different charging station, exactly. Different kind of charge. It's never lost, but each year it increases, right? And we're going to apply it. But the thing is, okay, so there's another way of thinking about it, by the way.
What increases?
Meaning, I'll say like this. It's like this. One way of thinking about Hanukkah is that we have to do Hanukkah all over again each year because last year's Hanukkah energy ran out. And we have to recharge. I say no, that's not correct. Instead, I would say we have fully applied all of the Hanukkah energy which we got last Hanukkah, we fully applied it to the entire year. And now that level of Hanukkah that we accessed is fully implemented. Now we've got to get a new charge and implement it even higher. So it's not that it runs out, it's that we have to reapply it in a higher way. We have to add another layer. We have to add another layer of depth, another layer of height, another layer of sincerity, another layer of realness. We have to chip away at more of the world. And so each year at Hanukkah, we get that energy to do more of it. And similarly, right, some other ideas here. Outdoor Judaism, right? The idea that to wear our Judaism loud and proud and on our sleeve, that's also something, an energy that we pick up at Hanukkah that we need all year round. Okay? So these are some ideas to think about as we come to Hanukkah, as we come to the next Jewish holiday. What is the charge that I'm picking up this holiday that's going to energize my whole year? And what's the energy that this holiday is bringing for the whole year? And then the next holiday brings a slightly different color that I'm going to use the whole year. So the Rebbe talked about not only as far as Jewish holidays are concerned, but also thinking about every aspect of life, every aspect of Jewish life and just life as having its own rhythm and its own thing. And the Rebbe taught us to properly tune in to the energy of each day, each week, and each month. So I have a video to show, and let's turn off a little light and we'll make the video. How about maybe this one? And that should do it. Good enough, right? Good enough?
Learning to tell time is an early milestone, but the Rebbe revealed that beyond telling the time, we need to find out what time itself has to tell us. Let me explain. Creation is a constant act. At every moment, God energizes every feature of existence into being. Time, too, is a creation. Each of its segments is created with a unique divine energy and purpose. But how can we identify the special energy of any given moment? The Rebbe often explained it like this at children's rallies. God is our commander-in-chief. We're his soldiers, and our mission is to push back darkness with holiness and kindness. And besides the overall mission, there's also the order of the day, a specific instruction meant for today.
Und sicher da an Oplernung, was geht der Commander-in-Chief zu jeder von seinen Soldiers, wie mir selbst das sichert, wie sie eingeführt in der Armee da, als sie da in Zugabe zu dem Order und zu der Anhoges und Anweisungen, wo der Armee bekommt, von Zeit zu Zeit, ist da der Order of the Day.
That idea opens up a bigger point. Time isn't just neutral background. Each segment carries its own message and purpose. And when you start paying attention, you notice that there are several layers that shape what a given moment is about. Day, week, month, and special dates, all working together to define what this moment is asking from us. Day. The Torah describes each of the 6 days of creation, followed by Shabbat. Those 7 themes are repeated each week. Take Wednesday, for example.
Gefinden mir sich Easter bei jedem Horvi in den 4. Tag von Woche, was so damals sagt man, der Eibischter hat beschaffen, es Hamoir HaGodel, die Sohn, was Hamoir HaKoton, die Levone.
Wednesday's energy is associated with creating and sharing light. Week. Each Shabbat, a different Torah portion is read, and every portion has 7 sections, corresponding to the 7 days of the week.
Aber soll leben mit der Zeit und Masbir gewähren hat das Menschen mit der Chelik von Parshas HaShavua, was sie in der Parsha Gufe verbunden mit dem Tag.
Month. 12 months, 12 themes. To find the theme, check the month's name and its significant dates. For example, Nisan means miraculous, and it contains the holiday of Passover.
Ist der die Zeit im Jahr, wenn mit der Mond jeder nach dem, und dämmelt in der maseldicke Zeit, was mir gibt im speziellen Kirches auf Durchführen das Befehl, ist das verbunden mit Zmanche Senu.
Moreover, each month is split into a number of days, and numbers are deeply meaningful. For example, the number 18 spells Chai, life.
Es kommt ein Tag, was ist der Chai. In Chedesh, der Mond ist noch einmal auf der Linie von Lebendigkeit.
Special dates. The Jewish calendar has special dates, biblical, historical, or evolved by custom. Each reveals something profound about the time in which the event is set.
Als ich gewähne, a jemil werde es a schonische Liefnisse. Und a jemil werde es muss noch sein Liefnisse. Und mehrere Jahren Liefnisse, Apfel Piken, a Sekunde, selber Tag, im selben Chedisch, nur miteinander Jahr, ist damit einander Linien, einander erwiderte.
When you start paying attention to these patterns, time stops feeling random. You begin to notice that each day comes with its own built-in message and opportunity. It's not just about watching the clock. It's about asking, what does this moment want from me? Sometimes it's to help someone. Sometimes it's to learn something. Sometimes it's to slow down. Each day comes with its own assignment. It's a different kind of telling time, listening for what the day is asking.
Okay. I love how Amrit Sandhu does such a good job of saying hi. It's great. All right. Shkoyach Amrit. So that time, let's look at, this is really fun. We have a bunch of charts over here on page 110, 111, etc. Using with some ingredients that we could use to help us identify the time. By the way, the Rebbe, whenever he talked, would almost always would begin by talking about the day. Today is the day. This is the time that we're in right now. This is the special moment. This is the parsha of the week, which we're reading right now. This is the day of the month that we're in right now. This is the day of the week. This was always like calling us to kind of tap into, tune into to recognize that the energy of this moment is giving us power to do certain things. Like there's this specific charge that's available to us if we tap into it correctly. So look at page. Huh?
I did that with my kindergarten
Yeah.
class. Also in old age homes, you do that with people that you
Right.
visit. You tell them what day it is.
Right.
And
He's talking about the Jewish.
Well, let's look at page 110, and we have Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Shabbos. Each one of them has their own sephira, is associated with its own sephira. Each one of them is associated with a different divine energy. And so being aware of the energy of that day gives us some color that we can use as we paint our own personal picture of time. So, right, Sunday is an ideal day for us to do Avos Yisrael, for do acts of Chesed. Sunday is the sphere of Chesed. Monday is when we get back to work. It's a day of Gevura. It's a day of discipline. It's a day of harnessing ourselves to the tasks. It's also a desire to see justice prevail, wrongdoers held accountable, etc. Tuesday is beauty and harmony, trying to bring the beauty of Shabbos and Sunday into harmony with the rigor and discipline of Monday, and that leads to Tuesday. Wednesday, perseverance, netzach, overcoming. Wednesday is hump day. It requires resilience and strength to get through the day, to get through the week. That's a hard day. It's a slump day. And so the energy that we need on Wednesday is perseverance, netzach. They were. There is, and that energy is available to us on Wednesday, and just like the Ma'orot, the luminaries keep coming back, they continue, they're constant and consistent. That's Netzach energy, that constancy and consistency. Thursday, God's splendor, humility, gratitude, praise of Hashem, winding down the week. Friday, foundation, connection, relationships, connection with Hashem, genuine pleasure, heartfelt passion, and Shabbos, withdrawal from creative activity, focusing on Hashem, accepting His malchut, His sovereignty. So that's the days of the week. Then we have the month, right? The new moon, possibility, birth, reuniting with Hashem. Right now, we're here in the waxing moon. We're in the middle of we're in the first half of the month, which is growth and continuing to grow. By the way, it's customary to have weddings during the first half of the month while the moon is waxing, because that associates with growth and with, well, that's what we're talking about, right? A wedding should be growth, should be reproduction, continuing to grow. The full moon represents the peak of spiritual achievements. Most Jewish holidays are at the full moon. Think about it. Pesach, Purim, Sukkot. All of those are at the full moon. Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, different. Shavuos is 50 days from Sukkot, from Pesach. So it's kind of like a follow-up from there. But it's also in the first half of the month, right?
And
Hanukkah is at the end of the month. It's the end of the month and then renewal, because Hanukkah is the holiday of darkness. It's a holiday of shining light within the darkness. And that's why it's in the second half of the month, the darkest half of the month, and then into the renewal, into the first days of the new month. Okay, and then we have the specific energies of each month, fruitful reading for your own reflection. And then we have the parshas of the Torah each week with its own energy. And it's a good idea. The Rebbe said this in the video, but the original idea comes from the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe told the Hasidim, he said, gentlemen, we've got to start living with the times. So he didn't mean the New York Times, and he didn't mean modern times. He meant you got to live with the parsha of the week. So reading the parsha of the week, reading the weekly Torah portion, helps us to connect to the energy that's in the moment. 7 days a week, right?
Yeah.
That's the times. Then we have our personal time. And today is my and Rebbitzon's wedding anniversary. The Jewish calendar, yes. And yesterday was, or the day before was her birthday. Jewish birthday. And it's our wedding anniversary in the Jewish calendar. Interesting, in Hebrew, we say Yom Huledet for a birthday and Yom Nisuin. We don't say Yom Hashanah. We say Yom Huledet. It's not the anniversary of your birth. It's your birthday. Because we're not remembering the fact that you were born. It is actually a moment at which your birth energy is coming out again. And the same thing with the wedding anniversary. It's not the anniversary of your wedding. We say it's Yom Nisuin. Today is your wedding day. Today is the day that our wedding energy is back in the world again. What brought us together, that gave us the power to unite as a couple, is present in the world today. So that's why we at Machane Chodesh celebrate birthdays. And we encourage people to sponsor a kiddush and to celebrate their birthday in community. Because if your birth energy is present on that day, then that means you have the power to give blessings. Meaning, it's that energy that brought you into the world. That's your energy. And you know that energy. You have the key to that Shabbos spice on your birthday. And you should use it and share it with others. So Chassidus teaches that your birthday isn't random. It's chosen because the spiritual energy of that day is the match for your soul. Meaning that time is when you were chosen to come out because it's your day.
You're only talking about your Hebrew birthday.
Correct. Now, Jewish people, the truth is, I should say like this, the Hebrew calendar is more precise than the secular calendar in a way, because it incorporates more dimensions of time. And it's particularly compatible with Jewish people. So there are aspects of the world that are compatible with the secular calendar. For example, the seasons. The first day of spring is the same day every year. on the secular calendar, not on the Jewish calendar. And also in our prayers, we reflect that by praying, beginning to pray for rain on the same day every year on the secular calendar. Because that particular thing, the natural world, the physical world, nature, the agricultural world, follows very precisely the secular calendar. But the Jewish soul is more than a natural body. The Jewish soul is also spiritual energy. And the Jewish calendar incorporates both the natural world by aligning with the seasons and also the precision of the natural soul by following the parshas of the week and the months of the year, the months of the moon, because the moon symbolizes growth, waxing and waning, as we discussed. So fulfilling your birthday, observing your birthday is a holy and spiritual practice that acknowledges and aligns us with time as a Jew and as somebody who's engaging in divine energy. Yes.
How do you recognize the Symbols Day? You know, my nephew, when they visit, now they all have two birthdays, the English Day
Yeah.
and the Hebrew. Most people, they do like the English Day.
Yeah, das passt nicht.
Except every 19 years they coincide.
Unless it was a leap year the year before. Yeah. Yeah, a Jew should, so what I'm saying is, the same way, Reb Hilla, the same way, so you could observe your the birthday on the secular calendar, but that would be like observing Rosh Hashanah on October 1st. It's not, the energy is not there. The energy is there on the Jewish calendar, just like Shabbos, just like Rosh Hashanah, just like Yom Kippur. So, observing your birthday was not a Jewish custom, widespread in the Jewish world. But the truth is that, as I said, the world, everybody lives in reality, and everybody understands that observing your birthday is a way of affirming life. Yeah. The Rebbe, however, taught, it was a fairly new thing the Rebbe started doing. He said, the Rebbe pointed to the fact that Kabbalists and Chassidim and Anshe Maisa used to do it in the olden days. It was private, whatever. But the Rebbe encouraged people to celebrate their birthday, and he gave a specific list of practices that would be advisable on your birthday. And the list, you could see it on page 122. And as a Gabbai, the first one, Reb Hilla has to know about it. A person, page 122. The Rebbe listed 10 practices for your birthday. One of them applies to men. And that is to arrange to be called up to the Torah in the synagogue on the Shabbos before your birthday. The Shabbos before. And on the day of, if it falls on a Monday or Thursday or Shabbos.
And then you give the amount of money you give is equal to the birthday.
Very nice. I like that idea. The next practice on a birthday is to give extra tzedakah. If the birthday is Shabbos or Yom Tov, you do it the day before. Spend extra time in prayer. Pray with extra concentration, extra focus. It's a good day to dwell on your prayers a little more. Read Tehillim. Some have the custom that on their birthday they read the entire Tehillim, all 150 chapters. Others are particular to read the portion for the day of the week, which Tehillim is divided for the 7 days of the week, or Tehillim is divided in 5 books. Some read one book. But certainly reading the Tehillim that pertains to your birth year. So for example, if you happen to be 30 years old, you start reading the 31st chapter of Tehillim, because now you're in your 31st year. Study extra Torah, learn some Chassidus, and also seek an opportunity to teach that to others. In yeshiva, on our birthday, we had to learn, we didn't have to, we were encouraged to learn a Maimer of Chassidus by heart, to learn a teaching of the Rebbe by heart, a mystical teaching, and to say it over at the Fabrengen in front of everyone. They would sing a niggin before. It was a whole deal. They sing a niggin before. And then you say the mimer by heart, and then they sing a niggin after, and everyone had to be quiet and listen very carefully, and yeah. Find a way to lovingly and respectfully have positive influence on another person. Maybe encourage somebody that you know about a mitzvah that you know that you would encourage them to. It's a day to invite people, reach out to people, and give them encouragement in their Yiddishkeit. Set a time for private contemplation and stock taking of the previous year, resolving to correct any wrongdoings and find ways to improve yourself. By the way, fun story. I think it was President Carter. Maybe it was it must have been Carter. On the Rebbe's birthday, he called the Rebbe's office. To wish him a happy birthday. So the Rebbe's secretary came to tell the Rebbe the President of the United States is on the phone. The Rebbe said, a birthday is a day for private contemplation. Cannot take his call. I mean, it might have something to do with the fact that it was Carter, but that's another story. But
to contemplate all day, doesn't have.
the Rebbe spent the entire day in private contemplation, reviewing. And this is what the Rebbe encouraged us to do: to spend the day in private contemplation, to think about the year past, and to make plans for the year to come. And then, second to last one on the page, undertake a new mitzvah or positive practice in honor of your birthday. It's called taking a hachlata. Every year on the birthday, in the yeshiva, we would do it publicly. And we still among my friends, we still do that. My friends will ask me on my birthday, because we always get together. It's the Rebbe's yard site, so we go to 770, and I have my table and my guys, and we all hang out. They say, "Nu Mendelson, what's your hachlata this year? What new mitzvah are you going to do?" They push me to say what I'm going to do. Okay? And then the last one is the Fabrengen, which is usually done at the end of the day. So during the day is in private contemplation, in prayer, in tzedakah, in doing mitzvahs, and at the end of the day is the Fabrengen.
The mayor was confirmation that was
Yeah, Education Day USA. It was federal. It was the president did that. But still, the Rebbe wouldn't take the phone call. It's not a day for socializing, the Rebbe said. It's a day for contemplation.
You want to wish him well.
Yeah. He did. The Rebbe did.
He did.
It's a boss move, no?
He wasn't afraid of any repercussions.
Yes. Yeah, obviously not.
What do you do?
Right. He could be offended. That's it. So.
He would say, he's like, when the nuns, when they go into, what is that term called, when they go in, they're not, the nuns, they go in, they have like a period where they're
Sequestered.
they're not to be disturbed, they're in confinement.
Okay.
The same thing.
So here's what we say today. Here's what I want to say today. 3 things. Number 1, every time has its energy. Point number 1, we should align with the energy of the time, and the Torah teaches us how to live in alignment with the time. Number 2, the time is a charging station, filling us with energy for the entire year. Number 3, the time is also a special order of the day. It's a mission. It has a unique calling and a unique opportunity that we're invited into by to take advantage of that energy and to put it into practice in a practical way in our personal time. And so we might ask ourselves, what is this day for? What is the flavor of the day? What is the energy of the day? What is the calling of the day? What is the gift of the day? And the Rebbe taught us to look at the calendar, to look at the weekly Torah reading, to look at the day of the month and the day of the time of the year, and to align ourselves to those times, to live more deliberately, to see that every moment counts, and to count every moment. And that's all she wrote for today. Questions, comments, reflections, arguments? Yeah. Yeah.
Who has a field, and they're using field very liberally. I said, don't use it in terms of, use the word priority, because field, in the sense it's against us, you're violating halacha if someone has, all right, but my point was, is on a particular day, because I observe a lot of your side, and I don't have priority, or I'm not here, I keep on saying, go down, but I'm not here, I'm just an ant and uncle.
Right.
So I once asked the Herschel Schacht at an RCA convention, I asked the question, I said, you know what, I get bumped out a lot, something, but what is the whole idea, or is this a valid thing for me to say Kaddish for? Because he says, you know what it is? That particular day on the calendar, 23rd of Kislev, whatever, it was a bad time for the family because a relative passed away. So you're commemorating, you're trying to help, I forgot what he said, or help that day because bad things could happen. Like
That's an interesting take.
Time.
Yeah, that's an interesting take. It's another version of that take. I think the Rebbe, I mean, putting that in a positive way, we would say that's a day when when one of the souls in your family was elevated to Shemayim, and so there's the soul, and we talk about this, that the soul, the just like a birthday, the soul was born into Shemayim that day, and so the soul of your relative that you're connected to is going up a level in Shemayim. And so that's a special opportunity for you to turn to Hashem in prayer and praise, and to take advantage of the fact that that's a day your relative is going up a higher level in Shemayim. Okay, that's why we have Chassidus. Okay, so Mitzvah Hashem, next week we will talk about. Up until now we've been talking about living intentionally, and living with purpose, and trying to align ourselves intentionally with the world and with time. Next week, we're going to talk about when the unexpected happens, how do we deal with the things that happen to us? And how do we respond to those? Life is what happens while we're making other plans. That's what we'll talk about next week. So I want to thank our online viewers for joining us. I want to wish everyone a gesunte und a freiliche Thanksgiving. And never mind what day it is.
Thanks, Rabbi.
Thanksgiving is
Bye.
Right.
Jewish people have every week.
Yeah.
Shabbos.
No. Those responses, and I can't get that.